Hello and welcome to aortichope's Week in Review. I am Greg Aaron Greenberg, and with me today is the movie mensch himself and aortichope ambassador, Joel Amos. How you doing, Joel?
I'm very well. Very, very well. How about you, Rick?
Not too bad. I'm glad that you can join us this week. For those of you that have never watched the Week in Review, this is a program that highlights the posts that we covered the previous week on aortichope on Facebook. And it's our little recap, and we give you some thoughts about how we feel about the articles that we shared and some personal insight. So I will start this up and get us going. And this is for the week of October 18th. And we start with Motivation Monday. And how many of you experience this problem? How do I become motivated when I'm not motivated to be motivated? It's confusing, right? Finding the inspiration, motivation, or drive to get simple tasks or to do lists completed can be hard, whether it's because of a lack of energy due to medication or just our fatigue. It is important to figure out the root of the issue and try to address it, or the lack of drive will get larger and larger. Check out this article in the link below from Very, Very Well Mind, written by Amy Marin, LCSW, titled What to Do When You Have No Motivation for Some Insight. So, Joel, I'll throw it over to you. Motivation to get tasks done.
hmm
How is that for you as a patient?
Depends on the week. Um, I think having a motivation Monday is a great idea because it really stems from your base, which is Monday. You know how your week is going to go is sometimes dictated by how that Monday goes, and sometimes after a wonderful weekend uh, playing with the little one, I don't really feel like doing the work that I need to do on Monday morning, and it can take a few hours. But motivation also can be like a big snowball, and once you go, it's like something in motion. He likes to stay in motion, and so I think the key is just to do it. And sometimes you can work on something that's not what you intended. I mean, whatever it is, just to get the ball going. Put some laundry away to get the blood moving. Like whatever it is that you need to do. There's plenty of stuff that we all have to do week to week. Just pick something that can get you up out of that chair or out of bed or something, just to get you going.
I agree. I think that's a huge thing to add to it is that idea of it might not always look how you think it's going to look, but if you can find that something to transition to just get yourself going and moving in the right direction and accomplish something, that goes a long way. And I think the major important thing, and it brings it up about figuring out the root of the issue is I think you have to understand, like, wrap your mind, is it fatigue and our situation that's doing it?
Mm.
Or is it potentially like a mental health issue for a lot of us? And the idea that depression's creeping in, and that's what's sapping us of the energy and the motivation. And I think that's a different discussion as a whole, but that is a real part of this. And how you attack that moving forward is a different discussion.
Yeah, I think for some people it can be both.
Right. I think it really is. And I think that's where you get the idea of I'm going to be retrospective and look and try to be introspective about how, like, what is it that's stopping me? Is it just my fatigue? Okay, that's fine. I've felt that before. You felt that before. Everything like that. I've also felt where the depression or the anxiety of managing this disease has become too much and has shut me down, and I don't feel like doing something that day. That has existed also. If that's one day, that's short term, you can move past that. That starts becoming additive, then maybe it's time to start talking to somebody and trying to manage your mental health.
Hmm.
At least the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, you can also. Oh, I think this is a big thing for us too, us survivors, is rediscovering some of the things that used to bring us joy. That maybe time, history, age, whatever, we've just kind of forgotten. Um, you know, and just that can also provide a spark. Like something you used to really enjoy that you're not really that much into anymore. Your old vinyl records or whatever, just pop on a couple of songs, and you're just like, yeah, okay, all right, you know, just anything, just that it's like the grenade theory. Just throw it at the wall. Anything is possible, because you never know what the source of inspiration will get you moving. Um, but motivation can be hard, especially if you're depressed, especially if you're chronically depressed, especially if you're genetically depressed. Plus, you toss in medically induced depression from stuff we've been through. That's quite a hill to climb. Um, but and this is very cliche, but you gotta keep putting that foot in front of the other, because you're not going to get out of the hole by staying in the hole.
No, exactly. There's got to be some attempt to advance, um, and figuring out what's right for somebody is the biggest thing at that point. Okay, so we've talked about motivating ourselves. Oh, hello, Kurt. Thank you for joining us. Yes, that is Kurt is not doing so well right now. He's got a bit of a temperature and waiting to hear from doctors. Uh, but thank you for joining us, Kurt. We hope you feel better, and we hope you get an answer and hear from the doctors quickly.
Quickly, yeah.
And because that certainly is a temperature that you don't want to be that high for that long. Uh, so hopefully you will hear from them, and we wish you the best. Now we will move to Wisdom Wednesday, and we've reiterated this for the last couple of weeks, but for Wisdom Wednesday this week, we had a wonderful live event with Dr. Stacy Fisher during September, which was Aortic Disease Awareness Month. And one of the things she discussed with us was uh, about diet. And we covered, I think, in last week's Week in Review, a little bit about the DASH diet. But Dr. Fisher was also sharing what she recommends discussing with your physician on their thoughts on the Mediterranean diet as well. So today we will be focusing on sharing the Mediterranean diet with you. Please remember this is meant as a conversation topic, and articles shared do not necessarily reflect the opinions or recommendations from us specifically at aortichope, but they're meant as a launching point for you and your doctors. But check out the link below. There's an article from the Mayo Clinic about how interest in the diet began in the 50s, when it was noted that heart disease was not as common in Mediterranean countries as it is in the US. And since then, numerous studies have confirmed that the Mediterranean diet helps prevent heart disease and stroke. And if you move to the diet, you will notice that the Mediterranean diet is a way of eating that's based on the traditional cuisines of Greece, Italy, and other countries that border the Mediterranean Sea. A lot of plant-based foods such as whole grains, vegetables, legumes, fruits, nuts, seeds, herbs, spices are the foundation of the diet. Olive oil is the main source of added fat, and fish, seafood, dairy, and poultry are included in moderation. Red meat and sweets are eaten only occasionally. Uh, Now, I will ask you, I don't know how much you have changed your diets. Have you affected, like really changed your diet since everything that's gone on, or little tweaks here or there?
Yeah. I mean, when I got out of the hospital, it got radicalized. Even though I don't think it was my diet that led to the dissection or the aneurysm. it couldn't hurt to change it. So I mean, I got the American Heart Association low sodium diet cookbook. I cut out dairy. I cut out chocolate, caffeine. I still haven't had any caffeine. And I used to drink like buckets of coffee a day, which is part of the reason why I think maybe I did dissect. Um, but yeah, I radically changed it. But what kind of became surprising is I dropped like 70 pounds. I was definitely healthier, but things were off. And my doctors ran a blood test, and it turns out I was very low on certain things, such as sodium. Now, sodium is not a good thing for us folks. It drives the blood pressure up, but your body still needs a certain amount.
Right.
And so I cut out so much that it was, I don't want to say dangerously low, but that, so I've kind of found a balance, that I took it radically. I'd say I definitely very much Mediterranean type of living, um, but that I couldn't live that way alone. I think in the years since I found a happy balance. It's about being healthy. It's not sticking to a strict diet per se. Balance, I think, is key. We can have some French fries now, but like eat great for the rest of the week. Why not? So I think that I've learned a lot about the diet, and I'm even tempted to maybe have a cup of coffee in the morning again. Maybe, but I feel like that would go against everything I've done the last 5, 6 years. Um, but I did, radically change things at first. Um, but I think it was too much so, and I needed to find a balance.
I think that's the most important thing. I think it's a balance. I think it's moderation in a lot of cases. Um, part of the Mediterranean diet is talks about obviously wine and red wine.
Mhm.
And while that has, obviously been proven to potentially reduce the risk of heart disease, that also comes with other issues. So, it's always an idea of moderation. But yeah, I like you. I don't think I got as aggressive. I tried to really just be conscious of everything. So I wasn't going to potentially eliminate hot dogs from my diet.
Mm.
Just it wasn't going to exist. I'm going to occasionally go to have a barbecue and eat some hot dogs. But what I could do was start paying attention to the lower sodium count of a
Mm.
certain brand and start going to that and doing things that would obviously go lower end on the sodium count. That was how I did it. I obviously stopped using uh, a lot of table salt while I was sitting down and tried to use a little more spice when cooking to give flavor as opposed to just adding salt after the fact. But that was how I attacked it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did start cooking a lot with olive oil as opposed to other oils and other fats and stuff like that. So, there were aspects of both Dash and Mediterranean that I incorporated in my cooking and my diet, but I wouldn't say that I like full blown started following
Yeah.
anything specifically.
Yeah, and I think I said this, when I was on last time, but like I think whether they meant to or not, the Tulane Hospital in New Orleans kickstarted my drive for health. I mean, I was on a heart healthy diet, but they brought me fried chicken and grits, um, and I just macaroni and cheese, and I just was like, this doesn't seem very heart healthy. Um, and especially after what I just went through, I'm not sure I should eat this. So I think the first 20 pounds I lost was in the hospital. Um, and I think I was motivated to get better foods in my system than what they were serving at the hospital. And I think that whether they meant to or not, they kickstarted my journey to eating better. Um, I mean, it was a wake up call for me because I was a workaholic. I drank a ton of coffee. I ate what was in front of me, fast food, whatever, it didn't matter. Um, and there was certainly none of that when I got back from New Orleans after my dissection, and it was a radical life change. And like I said before, I kind of found my way back to a middle ground. Um, and as a parent, you try to model what you eat for your kid, and so I think that also plays a part. Um, and I'm also on blood thinners, so I have to watch the vitamin K that I intake, and wine and things like that. So whether I like it or not, that plays a factor in what I eat.
I think for me, I mean, I had lost down to 103 pounds and was being fed by a tube for a lot of my post dissection. So for me, I was only eating very small bites. So I had a couple months where I wasn't eating, even when I was back into it, very much at a given time. So everything was in moderation. My portions were very small, but I started to see certain numbers and blood work that was coming back, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing great," this and that, and that started to like, okay, I'm going to start watching portion control, how I'm cooking. Now I was home, not working. I became the primary cook in the house. So now I was going to be the one that was going to be selecting ingredients, selecting what I was adding, what I wasn't adding. So I kind of had the control, and that kind of dictated what was going to happen moving forward.
Yeah.
But okay, from there we will move on to Therapeutic Thursday. And Karen has touched upon this the last couple of weeks, but this is Therapeutic Thursday, and we found this article at inink.com written by Jeff Steen titled "How the 331 Rule Can Help You Fall Asleep Quickly and Reduce Anxiety." This article, you can find in the link below, reviews how sleep is key to productivity, but it also helps to calm chronic anxiety. Check out the methods to help make falling asleep easier while calming your mind. Let us know if it worked for you. Now, the premise of this 331 rule, so that I can go over it with you if I remember, is you start with, for those of us whose mind are wandering all night, like when we first get into bed and have anxiety and stuff like that, you start with three things that you've accomplished that day, right? And you get some excitement out of it. A little bit of I achieved this. You then start with the next is the three things that you would like to get done the following day. And you culminate that with what they call a quick oil check, which is some breathing. And then you wrap that up with the last thing, which is a happy memory or something that has made you very proud, an achievement or anything like that. And this gentleman, with breathing and relaxation and keeping that going, that 331 idea, has found at that point it has calmed his mind and made it very easy to fall asleep. Now, I have tried it. I have a very active mind. I don't know if it necessarily works, but I will say that I have checked off some anxiety with the idea of, patting myself on the back for the three things I've achieved, setting up a plan for the next day, and then culminating with a happy memory. But I'm wondering when you have that noisy mind? Uh, how do you shut that off so that you can get the well-needed rest that someone managing our disease needs? I mean, we all need it, but someone with our disease really needs
Um, Actually, something that dates back to the late '90s. I had really, really bad carpal tunnel back then, and I had 4 surgeries. And treatment for carpal tunnel has come a long way. I mean, I missed years of life just kind of resting my hands. Um, and needless to say, being in my late 20s, early 30s, I was really concerned about where my life was going. And I talked to somebody, a therapist, and uh, this definitely is of that era. She taught me the best way to clear your head before bed is to work like a computer and employ your pop-up blocker. Like, remember pop-up blockers?
it. Yeah.
Um, so this is back then. So the idea that, there are good thoughts, there are bad thoughts, they're constructive thoughts. Those are fine. To a certain point. In case it gets late, you want to go to sleep. But like, oh, I should have done this. I didn't do this. Oh, I'm always failing at this. But block it, block it, block it. Pop up blocker. And I think it's basically kind of a very similar idea. It's just that kind of you are in control of your mind, of your thoughts, um, and that you can dictate it. You can calm yourself down. You can block the anxiety that maybe filters through. It might get into the brain as you're trying to drift off to sleep. Um, One thing I also find too is that we know how important sleep is, and if we're having trouble sleeping, sometimes this can be a vicious circle because you start thinking, oh wow, I'm only going to get 7 hours of sleep. Oh my goodness, I'm only going to get 6 hours of sleep. I better get to sleep. I gotta get to sleep. Oh, I'm only going to get 5 hours sleep. And at a certain point, you need to turn off the clock. Sleep is sleep. Just focus on sleep. Um, Yeah, so for me, I still employ the pop-up blocker all these years later, even though we don't really have pop-ups to block anymore on our computers, we still do, certainly in our brains.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I think that's kind of where this thought process is going, is that idea of if you focus on the three things you achieved that day instead of I didn't get this done, I didn't get this done, I didn't get this done. Oh my God, my day was such a failure. That's going to invade stuff. If you focus on I got these three things done. I had a productive day, and then focus on even if it is something that didn't get done that given day, but it's on your list for the next day, and you leave your list as a very simple three things. I want to get those done tomorrow. Then nothing seems like it's too much. Everything
Right.
seems like it's available. And those things, I mean, we've talked about it. Those things can be if you woke up and you've had a bad morning and it's a bad day, those things can be something as simple like we go back to in the Motivation Monday. If all you're up for is a walk to your mailbox to get the mail, do that. Get
Hmm.
moving. Every little thing. I know it seems like it's not a major achievement. It might not be what your goal was for today, but you achieved it. You got it. You were feeling horrible. And no matter what it was, you got up, you went to your mailbox, you got your mail. It's done.
Hmm.
You got moving. May not be perfect what you expected for that day, but you did accomplish something. You did get moving. It's positive to think of that positively. And then if your goal is, oh my God, I didn't get to the laundry, you'll get to it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Put it on that list of the three things that you would like to attack tomorrow. And there it is. But I think that's the positive thing. The more positive thoughts and the more you try to keep out the negative thoughts, the better and quicker you're going to go to sleep.
Yep.
And for us, it's additive because most of us are fighting off or napping daily anyway. The last thing that we need is to feel like we have to get a 3 or 4 hour sleep during the afternoon because you only put in 4 or 5 at night because you were rattled with anxiety.
Right.
But so I like the 3-3-1 rule. I'm gonna try to start applying it, see if it works. Right now I do the old counting. I start counts in my head of
Ah,
ridiculous numbers, and then hope that it stops and
eh,
I fall asleep. Just something, anything to distract me. But
that works.
yeah, that's the key. The key is finding something that works.
Right.
And like you said earlier, to some extent, we throw certain things at the wall and see what sticks.
Yep.
And and that's what it is. All these are just not the right answer for everyone. It's never going to be, but they're all ideas to try to employ to get to the right result, which is better
Yeah.
sleep and more rest for us.
Yes.
We will say hi to Deb, and Deb has added that she's been struggling with sleep and she's going to give this a try. And I would love the feedback of how it works for you, Deb. So you have to make sure that you reach out and tell us how it works if you give this a try. I know, like I said, Karen was the one that found this article, and she's brought it up the last couple of weeks. I don't know if she's honestly truly employed it. So I don't know necessarily if we have feedback of whether or not anyone's tried it and it's worked yet. I will say that since she brought it up, um, I have employed the idea a little bit um, before I went to sleep, but more as a tactic of trying to feel like I accomplished something for my day and that I have a little bit of a list for the next day, as opposed to a quieting technique in bed. I haven't really applied it yet, so we will see. But I'm bowing with you, Deb. I will try it as well. And with that, we will move on to our Rare Patient Voice Sunday. Now, this is something we've talked about before. Uh, Sunday was our Rare Patient Voice Sunday with aortichope. But this past week, everything in this week that we were talking about was Invisible Disabilities Week, or the previous week, I should say. And we are excited to announce our continued collaboration with Rare Patient Voice. Rare Patient Voice LLC provides patients and caregivers with rare diseases, or any for that matter, an opportunity to voice their opinions through surveys and interviews to improve medical products and services. Wes Michael, the president and founder of Rare Patient Voice, has been involved in rare and orphan diseases since 1998, interviewing and surveying patients, caregivers, physicians, nurses, and advocacy leaders. Wes has more than 40 years experience in marketing research and more than 20 years in healthcare marketing research. Well, they started by focusing on rare diseases. They now welcome patients and caregivers with all medical conditions. They have learned that it is important to patients and caregivers to be able to give their opinion. It is also important to get rewards in a timely manner. They are proud to reward patients with over $3 million since their founding. At Rare Patient Voice, they pledge to qualified patients and caregivers that they will get you those rewards in a timely manner. Like, would you like your voice heard? Complete our easy form to get started. The link will be below. Remember to add any and all medical issues you may experience or provide care for. Your information is protected and you may wish to remain anonymous. Their clients are market researchers whose clients are usually pharma or health related clients of some fashion. Data in their database is only used by Rare Patient Voice. A market research client will send them a request for patients and their family caregivers with parameters such as condition, meds, age range, etc. And to look at the video and click to join today, you can click the link below. You can earn up to $150 for participating, and Aortic Hope will receive $10 for every new registration. And how cool is that? I mean, they want our opinions. people will actually get to listen to our opinions, and we can make a little money doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I still haven't really signed up and taken place too much in the surveys. I need to get on the ball with that. But we all claim that nobody hears us. Here's the chance to have our voice heard.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever I go to the hospital, which thank goodness hasn't been in a little while, like maybe under a year, which is amazing for me. Um, but one thing that struck me is the nurses, the doctors, doctors that aren't even my doctors. They hear about me or my condition or what I've been through, and I become an educational tool to them. Like next thing you know, I'm telling my story to perfect strangers, and it obviously it happens online too. There's trying to make a little extra money beyond disability. There's surveys you can fill out and get paid if they pick you. And I'm just impressed with how many health related ones there are, whether it's chronic illnesses or things that have happened in the past. And like you can get a little bit of money, and at the same time, you're really helping the cause, and that you're providing information about your own personal experience that will further uh, push the envelope as to how doctors and professionals understand it. Um, so I think that's really cool that these things exist.
And I think you bring up a great point there. Uh, like, how many of us have done surveys for a $5 gift card or stuff like that? Any little thing, and it takes some time, whatever. But here is one that is specifically potentially catered to the med you're on,
Right.
or the disease, or what you're afflicted with, that might actually influence change in how we as patients are viewed, or a decision that a medical company makes.
Yeah.
I can't, so many of us want, you know, I know I do, and I know that you and I have talked about it before, but, with sharing your story and the fact that you've participated in Survivor Series and Where Are They Now for us, and have been, an ambassador, but there's a need to make sense of what happened to us, or
Hmm.
for it to mean something. And I think so many of us feel that. Like, I know I have. It's part of the reason why I'm part of Aortic Hope and part of Think Aorta. Uh, I need this needs to have happened for a reason. Um,
Yeah. And it's funny. It's like just when you think you've got a grip on that, or you've made some sort of peace with that, something will happen, and you'll realize that you haven't. I was talking with some fraternity brothers from college the other day, and we realized that 8 of us have died since college. And I immediately went to that could have been me. That could have very easily been me. Why wasn't it me? And I'm having this conversation that I've had for 6 years again. Um, so I think, I don't know, I think it's an interesting thing that it's always in our heads, whether it's in the forefront or the background. And you'll never know what spurs it. A conversation with friends, like it's like realize, wow, I can't believe 8 of my fraternity brothers are no longer with us, but I'm here. Like, how did that happen? Um, so it's important to think about, but
yeah.
also at the same time, don't let it weigh you down too much.
No, I agree. I think you find any little way that you can help, potentially, uh, fix that narrative for you. Like,
Right.
why did I survive? Okay, this is why I did. You know, who knows? If this week in review reaches 2 people and they find some help from one of the articles that we had, then I achieved what I wanted to achieve this week.
Yep. Amen.
You know, and with that, We pretty much have wrapped up the week, but I want to talk about a couple of things that are coming up. We have an Ask a Doctor event November 15th, and that is our Ask a Doctor event with Dr. Siddharth Prakash. He is an awesome help to us. He will give some time and answer questions online in our Facebook forum or on our Facebook page. You just go to the Ask a Doctor post that we'll put at the top on at the date and time. You can post any of your questions about aortic disease and he will reply with an answer. Now, this is not one of our live video events like we normally have, but a live interaction via comments. So you will write your question, he will comment and give you an answer. And if you wish to remain anonymous, you can always send your question to us via messenger or email at info@aortichope.org ahead of time, and we will put the question in there for you. And so that you know, Dr. Prakash obtained his PhD in molecular and human genetics and subspecialty training in cardiovascular disease at Baylor College of Medicine. And his research, which we talk about a lot on both our page and in these weekend reviews, focuses on genetic causes of bicuspid aortic valves and related congenital abnormalities involving the left ventricular outflow tract and aorta, as well as he handles a lot of the exercise studies and stuff like that. And he co-directs the multidisciplinary aortic and vascular disease clinic in the UT professional building with Dr. Milowitz. So that tells you a little bit of that about that. The other event, so we have that coming up in November. You'll be warned of that. That's a couple weeks away. So you'll see all sorts of additional plugging of that as we approach. But I will tell you that last week we covered in our weekend review that we were really excited about our bingo event, but we unfortunately had to cancel due to a technical issue, which was a little bit out of our control. But we rescheduled it, and that will take place. Today is Monday. That'll take place this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And we will provide a link on this that you can still register, but you only got about a day or so to register. But that'll be in our town hall format. So it will not be live on YouTube, but we will all be together using Microsoft Teams. And we will have a fun little go of playing 10 games of bingo and giving out some prizes. And this is our Halloween one, so we hope that everybody will show up in costume and make this more fun, and we will have a little costume contest as well. So that pretty much wraps up our weekend review. Joel, I would like to thank you and love to thank you for joining me as always.
You're welcome.
We hear another dog that is joining us. We love the dogs that come in from the background. I do it all the time. I will also state that I will make this promise live again. Joel and I are working on a movie review show that we will hopefully be debuting on AHTV shortly. So hopefully you will get that show coming to you. That will be a regular thing. We just got to get some logistics squared away and how we're going to run it. But look for that from the movie Mention Me. And Joel, thanks again for joining me this week.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we hope that you'll all join us. And once again, remember, you need to like and subscribe to this video and to get notified about future videos and future events. And we want to thank you all for coming and have a great week.
All right. Bye-bye.